Donald Trump NFTs, his video was hilarious. He's like, hopefully your favorite president, better than Lincoln, better than Washington. And you're like, in any other scenario with any other project, this would be such a scandal. But it's Trump, and we're all like, haha, he's grifted us again. Oh, haha, he's just like stealing money again. I mean, it's just the most classic Trump execution of all time. Just completely cheap, completely ostentatious, and like lowbrow. You know, it's just like that magic combination of like like rich with no class, you know?
Yeah.
Hello everyone, GM. Welcome back to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs and to the final moment of Zeneca of the year. We have made it, Zeneca.
Wow, we survived.
The what the kids say was true. We did make it. We were going to and we did.
We made it.
Holding on by a thread. You're ready
really
for a break.
Oh God, I got my coffee here, which I need desperately to kick in, but we're here.
I'm drinking my green juice. I know we might cut this because I know nobody cares what we eat for breakfast, but I'm like, I've been sick. So if you care about me because I've been sick and I haven't been able to do the podcast, I'm now like, I've become a green juice person. I'm like, God damn it, I will stay healthy if it is the last damn thing I do. Let's dive in. I want to start by giving folks an update on Overpriced Gin. My intention had been to talk about Overpriced Gin last week's recap episode, and then I completely lost my voice and I didn't get to talk about it. So by now, I imagine many folks who listen to this podcast know that OPJ, Overpriced JPEGs, we have launched our very first NFT. It is an OPJ NFT. And the most defining characteristic of this NFT up to this point is that it is backed by bottles of Overpriced Gin, which will be available in February. So if you purchase one of these OPJ NFTs in February, well, I should say in Q1, it looks like it'll be end of February. I mean, you know, don't hold me to over a barrel over this, but you will be able to redeem for a bottle of gin. The other thing I will say is we can't ship to every state. We can't ship internationally. So please check out the FAQ to, if like you're buying this specifically for the gin, please check out the FAQ. I will also make an effort, like if you're in a state that we can't ship to, but you go to conferences, like I will make every effort to get folks their bottles, even if they are somewhere else. You'll message me. We'll talk about ways to get that information to me when we get closer to time. So I'm so excited about that. I've talked a little bit about why I think this is so fun, but I'm loving playing around with different concepts of what can be done with like physical items and then NFTs. And this is just allowing me to explore this NFT world in a way that I feel really excited about and comfortable with, which is what precipitated me getting into this whole thing. And the second piece of this is that it will also be an access pass to a series of events we're going to do next year, combination of virtual and live. People keep asking me when the mint is going to close. We did an open edition. The answer is we are putting a bunch of things in place, or trying to put a bunch of things in place that I'm excited about. And we want to make probably one more announcement before we close the mint. And then there will almost certainly definitely be other announcements we'll make after the mint has closed. We want to get one more announcement in before the mint closes. So we're keeping it open. It's the holiday season, so it's sort of hard to lock things in because people are going on break. And, you know, so a lot of things I think will be firmed up more in January. So we are keeping it open. It'll be open through January, probably through like early mid-January. We'll make one more announcement or so. Then we'll close. Then we'll have another couple of announcements, hopefully. And I've said this before, depending on what we firm up for like a Jan announcement, the price may go up. So if you're like biding your time here, I would say sooner rather than later, because we might raise the price depending on what we have announcement wise. So thank you so much to everyone who has already purchased one. This is going to be fun. Again, we've priced this intentionally to say the 0.065 ETH. It's like you're getting a bottle of gin, you're getting some events. We feel like we are delivering 0.065 ETH of value of that. So like don't, again, hold me over a barrel, you know, for the rest of my freaking life on this thing. But we have some ideas that we hopefully can implement for some surprise and delight things. The phrase of NFTs these days, I feel like. And just so grateful to everyone who has minted so far. And Zeneca, you shared it. I'm so grateful. Yeah.
No, it's so much fun having an NFT, and I'm so happy that you have one now. Because like you said, you can think about all these creative things that you can now do and plan for the future. They make great Christmas gifts to anyone watching this, because Christmas is right around the corner. Holiday gifts.
Right around the corner.
So I minted 10. I'm not in America and I don't drink alcohol. So I have to find people to give these 10 out to.
Yeah.
I'm like Christmas gifts.
It's a gorgeous bottle. It's Amber Victoria. The full design is Amber Victoria with liquid collections. Amber Victoria designed those OPJs. Like, it's beautiful. It's a really cool way to get exposure to her work too. I'm such an Amber fan.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
So yeah, I so appreciate you. I know that's hilarious. You can't
I didn't realize
shipped to
afterwards.
You can't drink it. I'm hoping you're like gracious about it. I'm hoping other people aren't mad if they didn't realize. I mean, we put it in a bunch of different languages.
There's enough disclaimers and all that kind of stuff.
You know, you said this to me though. You were like, it's so valuable. I think it was when I was interviewing you. I can't remember. Like, it's so valuable to have an NFT project, or maybe it was a group call we did. But if you're going to talk about NFTs, and I had like advised a number of projects, but there is something so different between like advising a project and having all your skin in the game.
Yeah,
and like the ways your mind moves around something when it's like your baby.
Yep.
And so yeah. So I think it's fun. I think you were totally right, Seneca. I'm glad I have one. It only makes me want to do like more of this kind of thing, whether it's with this NFT or like others in the future, what we're going to do. We don't have a Discord right now. I was so adamant that I didn't want a Discord, and there's absolutely a chance we end up with a Discord because I'm like, yeah, you do need to communicate things to people. I tried to get it. I set up an Overpriced Gin Twitter account being like, all right, this will be a central place where if you just want like the latest, like the hot hits, the most important stuff, you can go to this Twitter account and see it. And then I was suspended from Twitter for having it.
Of course you were.
And I've been appealing that suspension for about 2 weeks now. Don't really understand. They're like nefarious purposes. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I have overpriced JPEGs, Carly P. Riley. I've never done anything sketchy on either of those accounts. Like, what? So,
you know what's great? Email.
Hopefully in the works. Yeah, email. I know. Well, we talked about this yesterday, actually, Zen. What I really, really want, and this is why it's so great to have your own NFT project, is I want to just communicate directly through like the MetaMask wallet or directly through OpenSea. Like, I want to communicate directly to the holders of the NFT, like via their NFT. And there's these ways to do that you pointed out to me, but the other party has to have the app.
Right. They're all done through like, Ethermail, the Floor app. I actually don't know if Floor app does it, but like, there's so many apps out there that you can, I think Token Proof might have it, or maybe they were thinking about it, but the other person has to also be on the app, where not everyone is using the same app unless it's like MetaMask where everyone is using it. But then there's security concerns of MetaMask allowing like messages to go to people directly in MetaMask, because scammers are going to be all over that, unfortunately.
This is where it needs to be an opt-in thing. Like, you need to turn on, you say, for this project, I want to receive messages. For this project, I want to receive messages.
And they can only come from the like contract deploying wallet or something like that. That would
totally.
There's an idea here somewhere.
I this is the thing I want more than anything. I'm like, I just want to talk directly to holders, like via. I also think just broadly for the space, this is kind of what you want, because otherwise you are just constantly having to fall back on Web 2 technologies. Like, this is the funny thing where you're like, NFTs, this is my community. Oh, but I need you on Twitter or Discord or, email would be the best because it's the most sort of decentralized of these options, but nobody wants. So anyway, we don't have to riff too hard on this, but if you're out there thinking about this, I'm really interested in solving this problem. Zeneca, why don't you also give Zen Academy updates? I'm excited. I have to burn my my Genesis for a Zen chest.
Yep. So I think like a month ago, time is weird. Maybe it was like 3 weeks ago. Now anyone who has a Zen Academy Genesis token or a 333 token can go to our website, zenacademy.com. There's a big summon button up the top, and you go connect your wallet and you burn your token and receive a beautiful chest if you have a Genesis token, or a beautiful membership card if you're a 333 Club member. And this is like the first step towards our PFP. And in Q1 next year, small chance it gets pushed a little bit. We had a meeting yesterday with creative director and illustrator, and we were pivoting our direction a little bit. Just like you said, you were saying February, say Q1, there's always a potential slight delay, but like, we're going to hustle and do everything we can. PFPs will be revealed and you'll be able to burn for beautiful PFP. I'm ready to hype it up because I'm like, the direction we're going in, it's going to be really amazing. And I'm so hyped for it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be special. It's going to be different than like, it's not just going to be another cookie cutter copy paste. It's exciting. So that is coming out. And then the last thing I'll say is next month, so January, about a month from now, is when our student IDs will be claimable. And these are free NFTs for literally anyone. You don't need to have any of our other tokens. You could have no other NFTs. Free, they'll be soul bound, unlimited in quantity. open edition forever. And the goal is for this to be everyone's first NFT. If you have a friend or a family member who's like, I'm interested in NFTs, but I don't, want to risk money or speculate, or I don't care about that. Great. We will give you an NFT. You can claim it for free. And then as you like take courses or learn or do activities, you'll get little badges on it. It'll be like dynamic and upgradable and fun. And yeah, maybe there'll be some future utility, but yeah, I'm excited for that too.
I love it. And you and I, not for this episode, but we're talking some predictions that'll be aired on next Friday's episode that I don't know if it's going to come up for you, but I know we were on a predictions thing yesterday with Somi, and she was like, Soulbound, that's where everything is moving. And I know, obviously you're making that move. I love it. So we'll probably talk more about that. Okay, on to our first news item of the day. It's a news category. They are a category unto themselves. Just Yuga, just like Yuga news. I feel like there was a bunch of Yuga news this week. I want to talk about the Yuga news, and then I also want to talk about your outlook on Yuga for 2023. We'll even do this kind of separate from just the predictions episode next week. But before we do that, we need to hear a word from our amazing sponsors who make this show possible.
When it comes to NFTs, convenience often wins over security, despite scams being everywhere. Brands and artists have no other choice by complying with big marketplace terms and weak security because no good alternative exists. Which is what prompted Ledger to fix the problems of NFTs themselves and launch Ledger Market. The Ledger Market provides an end-to-end secure NFT experience for brands, artists, and users, enabling true ownership and control over NFT assets, from minting to storing. Ledger Market secures NFT projects via Ledger Enterprise, keeping you protected from phishing attacks and scams. And the market directs users to Ledger Live, where they can transact with a contract directly, giving clear signing details instead of blind signing and praying. Don't trust, verify with clear signing from Ledger Market. Stay up to date on the latest drops and marketplace updates by following Ledger on Twitter and joining the Ledger Open Discord, which is linked in the show notes below. BUENO is the NFT toolkit you need to launch your digital collectible on the blockchain without coding. Every step of the NFT creation process, from generation to mint, all taken care of by the BUENO NFT toolkit. With BUENO, you can load up your art layers, reorder the layers, tinker with rarity, everything you need to make your NFT project a reality. BUENO even allows you to mint your tokens on the blockchain with zero code and offers advanced minting logic like linking allow lists, airdropping tokens, and on-chain royalty configuration. As a part of their launchpad, you'll get access to forums to run surveys, email collection, and build your pre-sale list to make sure you are hooked into your own community. BUENO is full of powerful tools you need to build the most expressive NFT project possible. So go to bueno.art and start building your own collections today.
Okay, in the first piece of Yuga news is, of course, in my opinion, Daniel Allegre, and he was hired to be CEO of Yuga. That means Nicole Munoz is stepping back into an advisor role. No information as far as I know in terms of what her next thing is. Maybe she's taken some time to chill after having run Yuga Labs for the last year and a half, whatever it's been. And people are really excited about this. I mean, the news was received incredibly well. He spent 2 years as the CEO of Activision Blizzard, which is, of course, a really big deal if you're trying to build a game and you have the former CEO of the largest gaming company. And prior to that, he spent 16 years at Google in various capacities. So incredible resume. What do you think?
Very impressive. Yeah, very bullish news, not just for Yuga and that whole ecosystem, but the space as a whole. It's just another point of validation that, this is not a scam. This is legit. I know, I'm sure there's a million games out there who have their gripes with Blizzard and Activision and all the big gaming companies, but it's getting to be undeniable at this point. You have Starbucks, you have Nike, you have Reddit, now you have the CEO of Activision Blizzard, and more people are entering the space and really making the conscious decision. They're going, all right, yes, this is the future. This is where I want to be building and allocating my time and energy. And so very, very bullish. Bullish for other side, bullish for whatever the Bored Apes are doing, their whole metaverse play, all of it. It's great.
It's funny. There's such a disconnect. I was listening to Pivot, Scott Galloway, Kara Swisher's roundup 2023 style episode. And it was amazing to me how much they talked about metaverse and crypto and things like that. And I think Scott made some comment about NFTs. He still thinks there'll be some value to them, but they were by and large just like, yeah, this is so over. Like everyone's over it. It's not a thing anymore. And I'm like, it's so incredible to me. The bubble that I'm in, first of all, and being like, oh my God, like the tech savvy mainstream are over it. And Molly White, I think is her name, who does the Web3 is going great, like came on and her prediction was something about like Elon is the only one who can save it. Like if like basically what she's hearing, she was saying from crypto insiders is like the only way it'll be saved is like Dogecoin becomes a payment on Twitter, which shows it's worth something. Like and they were focused more on the crypto side than they were NFT side when she was saying that. But and look, I trust she has crypto sources, but I'm like, I don't live in that universe at all. Like I have not heard anybody in my circles at any point suggest in any way that like Elon needs to come save crypto.
Yeah. It is just not. I mean, there's the wishful thinking Doge fanatics who are like, oh my God, Elon's now Dogecoin is going to be everywhere. But no one like sensible, I think, is even talking about that or.
No, nor is it what's exciting to me or where like the future is going to come from. And just the disparity. And, you know, if you have conviction, which you and I both do, I'm like, it's exciting. I'm like, they really, the mainstream, again, the tech savvy, quote unquote, mainstream, the like, you know, you're like just don't seem to understand what is happening here and the way this is going to reshape things and digital ownership and the value of that and tokenized communities and what's coming with all of that. And just feels like such a no-brainer opportunity like that.
Yeah.
You know,
we're still early.
Invest
we're still
here.
Very, very
yes,
early.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Okay. Yuga also came out with Trial of Jimmy the Monkey. So they released their first teaser trailer video that is starting to tease out some lore. I want to get your thoughts on the video itself. But they also said that this is connected to a mint they're going to have in early January, or I should say early 2023. I don't remember what month.
I think it is January.
Pull it up. Okay, so yeah, January at some point. And is that interactive mint, they said. And all of this, it appears, is a prologue to a series of interactive experiences, activations they're going to be doing across 2023. So let's start. Well, more to say on that, but let's start with what were your takes on the video?
I don't know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting that. It is unlike like the other side videos or any of the other, which I get, like
the animation style was different.
Totally different. And I get that like Other Side and Bored Apes are like two separate entities. Yes, they're both by Yuga and obviously connected, but maybe it's very intentional to have a different artistic style, and I totally get that.
Interesting. I didn't think about that.
But it still is like, I don't know, it just seemed odd. Even the graphical representations, like the apes and the faces seemed a little different than what the actual PFPs look like, what the Yacht Club looks like on the website, and the other art, the roadmap. It just seemed a little different to me, which, you know, not necessarily bad, just not quite what I was expecting. And then the context, I only watched it once and like I was sleep deprived, so I didn't really get too much of the story. There's like a key that's some magical key, and then someone swallows it and then dies on a toilet as it's trying to get rid of it or something like that. And then it's very graphic, fairly graphic for an animated thing, and interesting. It's like the most positive I can say about it.
Yeah, I've heard some really good things. There were some people who I was in like group chats with and who were really positive on it. So I think it's what you're saying, which is it's well executed. You know, it's a different style. So it really comes down to like, is it your vibe or not? You know, and that's a subjective thing. Like, I don't think this was a poor quality. This wasn't like they didn't make some error. It's not my sensibility kind of across the board. Like, but that's not entirely uncommon for me in this space. Like, I also don't really love Rick and Morty. I respect the hell out of Rick and Morty, but it's like not my sensibility, but it is the sensibility of like probably the majority of NFT community trader types, probably the majority of like the Bored Ape Yacht Club audience. You know, it's definitely like a little, it leans dudish, and like, you know, it's kind of like, I'm trying to avoid using the word just broy because, you know, I feel like that word is like charged these days. But yeah, like a lot of toilet references for like a 1 minute video. Yeah. But it's cool. I mean, I'm definitely excited for what's to come here. I'm excited to learn more what the trial of Jimmy the Monkey means. We didn't really, I guess we can make some assumptions or some inferences based on this video, but like that, you know, he's on trial for swallowing the key, I guess, but he died. So I don't know. So more will be revealed. I'm like intrigued enough to know what's going to happen next. And then, you'll be able to do this mint if you have the Kennel Club. What's interesting is if you have the Kennel Club alone, it doesn't mean anything.
No,
but it becomes an add-on if you have a Macy or Basie
there's
then
four
you get-
different tiers. I think it's like
there's 4 tiers.
mutant is like the lowest tier, and then mutant plus dog, and then ape plus dog is like the highest tiers. That's my understanding.
And then there's apparently some like extra experience stuff you can purchase using
Ape
ApeCoin.
coin, yeah.
So, I mean, look, they're doing the thing. They're keeping people engaged. They're creating story. They're creating reasons to come back and engage with their brand. And I really feel like it's sort of like more to be revealed on some of this. And but cool.
So I just want to say one thing that it's like a minor gripe that I had, which this plays into something we were talking about yesterday. How you were bearish on Yuga last year, and now you're more bullish, and I'm sort of going slightly.
I want to amend that. So yes, give me your thought.
So I think it was Gordon Goner or one of the founders tweeted sometime in the last like 48 hours about how should we turn on the 2.5% royalty for the Bored Ape Kennel Club so we can start doing stuff again. And to me, there's like, it was almost a little tone deaf. It's like, you raised $500 million. Is that money not being used for it's just, I get that there's like other side and Bored Apes again, are like two separate entities, and maybe they raised, but Yuga is, to my understanding, raised $500 million, 450 million. And I would have.
Which is to say nothing of what they've made.
Exactly. Like from the original mint.
The original mints and secondaries, etc.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the way royalties worked for the dogs was really commendable. They had them and they donated the money to charity, and then they put them to zero. And I think it's very understandable and justifiable for them to turn them back on and be like, we are making a decision to turn royalties back to 2.5%, keep it in line with the rest of the things. Maybe some percentage goes to charity, maybe not, whatever. But it's just it just felt a little odd to say we need to turn it to 2.5% so we can do stuff for the dogs. For where after they raised $500 million. Yeah,
it didn't bug me the way it bugged you, but I understand that. Like, I do think all this stuff takes so much money, and
it does.
And like behind the scene budget things. Like, I don't get the sense that Gordon or Wiley are taking $1 million salaries. Like where it becomes onerous is when like a founder themselves is profiteering hugely, and which isn't to say that they won't end up very, very rich at the end of all this if they pull it off. But I don't get the sense that in the meantime they're like squandering capital. No. So I was like, okay, I get it. You need the royalties for Kennel Club will go to Kennel Club. But I think you're probably not alone in that reaction. And it is sort of like, maybe even preface it with like a little note about that of like, hey, I know we raised a bunch, but all this stuff is really expensive. We'd love to invest more in Kennel Club. So
it's
we're
just
looking
like
at like just a little more context as opposed to sort of this like almost like boldly like,
You know what it reminded me of is like after the other side drop where then they came out and they blamed the Ethereum network for like the $100 million of gas wasted. Yeah. And it was
There's
just
a
like
little bit of a lack of accountability tone.
Exactly. Lack of communication. And I get that their communication style is very fuck it, Mutant Saturday, and like it's very grungy and not overly wordy, but I think just saying nothing would have been better.
I hear you on that. I get it. Well, let's talk big picture. Well, actually, let's do one more thing, and then I want to get your big picture thoughts on again, the Yuga outlook for 2023. Meebits did something very cool. I don't see too many people talking about it, but Meebits did Meebits Turn On, which is a 13-song album, I want to say, in partnership with Warp Sound AI. 13? Did I get that? 12, 13?
Loading 13, yes.
And it's very like electronic beat, chill vibe stuff. Again, not totally my like usual listening speed, but like I was listening to it trying to be like, does this feel like a Meebit brand vibe? And I was like, it does. Like I think this vibes with kind of the Meebit feel, kind of chill, kind of ambient, kind of like doing their thing. So that's super cool. And then if you have a Meebit or Meebits, you can go and claim the the NFT of this album. It'll show up in OpenSea. The songs will play. You can skip and go back and pause and all the things like a normal like kind of MP3 player within OpenSea, which is fun.
Nice.
So I've gone and claimed mine. Folks, go claim it. Obviously, make sure you're using the right links from Meebits, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, I love to see a little action on the Meebit side. As a Meebit holder, people always are like, oh, you talk about Yuga and you don't disclose. I'm like, you're right. I own one Meebit. I don't own a Bored Ape, a Macy. I don't even own a freaking dog.
Yeah.
But I will disclose I own a Meebit.
You're part of the
It does not
ecosystem.
impact the way that I cover Yuga, but yes, I own a Meebit, so I claimed mine.
I've always liked Meebits.
I also wanted to
honestly
say again.
I've always liked Meebits.
I like Meebits too.
They're cool, and like I I think the most FOMO I've ever had in this space was when Meebits dropped, because I was like very, very new, like really early on. And all of these punk holders were just getting a free 2.5 ETH airdrop effectively for free. And I was like, what is this black magic? How is this? And I was just like staring from the outside. And then my friend Jamie and I, we were actually discussing, should we like pool money together and go 50-50 to buy a Meebit? Because, you know, we didn't have much money then and couldn't, and the floor I think for like was like 5-6 ETH, and it just kept going up, and we were both like discussing like what's our budget, and fortunately we didn't go in because they ended up crashing down to like below 1 ETH before going back up again. But yeah, I've always liked them. I think they're cool.
I think they're cool as well. On a bigger picture note here, what I think is so interesting, and this I guess doesn't pertain to the Meebits particularly, but you know, all of this news, I guess maybe in particular the Daniel Allegri hire, you know, I was looking to see what coverage it is or is not getting in the mainstream per what we were talking about before. And it was so striking to me that I think maybe TechCrunch had something about it. You know, like there was some trade publication, Yahoo, I think did something, but like, you know, Wall Street Journal isn't covering it. And not that you necessarily expect them to cover something like this, but you know, it is a big kind of exec C-suite hire in the gaming side, in gaming industry side, going to like the one project, if you're going to cover something, it'd be this project. And coupling that with the fact that to read their blog post about the hire, I'm assuming you did this, like you had to go put in your name, put in like a picture of yourself, like they did this whole like KYC thing almost, or whatever. You did like do a seed phrase kind of, like you had to put in a phrase, I guess like bot protection or something.
Something
Who knows?
weird.
But to go and read the blog post, and I was like, you know, if Yuga to our point, all their money, I'm sure they have a PR team, like really wanted this news in the Wall Street Journal and in like they could have made that happen. Like this could, you know, maybe you're not getting the front page, but you totally could make that happen. And it feels like such a striking indication of their priorities and their thought process in a way that I really like, that like they're not trying to get the mainstream news. And as much as I obviously want the mainstream to get on board, so I feel like I'm contradicting myself and being like, oh, like they're not even trying there, but I kind of appreciate that they're like, we're going to focus on the security, making sure that like our people are on the right site, know that they're on the right site. That must be what it's about. Is like that's a protection to make sure that you're on a Yuga site, because that's like the preface to all the steps you have to take of like uploading a picture, uploading a phrase, is prefaced with know when you're on a Yuga site.
Yeah,
and do all this.
I saw some tweet yesterday about how Yuga just keeps adding additional domains, because like the trial of Jimmy the Monkey is like mdvmxx.xyz or something, and it's like that is just recipe for scammers and phishers to just create fake ones that look exactly the same and send it out. And so it's nice that if they're thinking about additional security measures to...
That must be what it is, because they say know when you're on a Yuga site, and then they ask you to put in like a phrase, a unique phrase, and then they ask you to upload a picture. I think they say of yourself, or I just chose to do one of myself. And I think they say of yourself. And I was sort of like, what is this about? And maybe it is this thing of like, it's going to be it's extra difficult to copy
Something
a Yuga
like that,
site
perhaps.
if you have to do things like that. It just shows where the priorities are, which is kind of holders, that security side, not do we care if, you know, mainstream trad pubs are like picking this up, so to speak. So let's talk Yuga in 2023. Going into this year, you were very bullish on Yuga. I think I had been more hesitant on them, and was I clearly proven wrong, which I think I very quickly copped to mid-year when I was like, yeah, okay, they're smart. I think like when they did the 4,500 simultaneous users in other side, I was like, okay, shit, like they can pick really impressive partners, and that's a huge part of the battle. And
that was very impressive.
That they're doing that incredibly well. So I was obviously wrong. You're a little bit more bearish on Yuga going into 2023.
A little bit. Definitely more bearish than I was this time last year. I think I was still in euphoria, mania, head in the clouds phase, where I was like, Yuga is the best and they're going to be the best. And I mean, they are still a giant. They acquired Lava Labs, and it's undeniable that they're the largest PFP project and NFT project probably. But there's been like in 2021, I would say they had no missteps. They were like on point. Other Side Mint was a really big one for me. And I don't know if it's like because they took VC funding and it changed that, or it was an oversight that the gas war was so bad, or the communication style afterwards. It just like made me just rethink and consider, and I was like, Yeah. And then also all this ape DAO stuff, there's been like a lot of, I haven't been following it closely, but I know that a lot of community members are not happy with like the amount of money that it took to get like the staking website put up. And that's more of an indictment on DAOs rather than Yuga. But it's I think the community is like part of Yuga, and it's just like this has been a lot more of a bumpy year than last year, which is across the board.
I misheard you. You said there'd been no missteps in 2021. And then
Right.
And then in 2022 is when, so you were very bullish going into 2022 because you felt like they had executed so flawlessly in 2021.
Yes.
And then you hit 2022 and it was like, oh, the other side mint happened, ApeCoin, Ape DAO.
Yeah.
So, you know, every project is going through this. Like when I think about like where are the scandals with Doodles right now, it's Doodles Bank. Not that there's a few, you know, but the community, and I would say, you know, Yuga has clearly or has arguably communicated with their holders and their community better than Doodles has.
Right.
Doodles has really been hit with that. But like these DAO kind of Doodle Bank, Ape DAO communities, it's hard.
It is.
Which isn't, hey, I don't know enough about the grievances to know how much I would agree or not with them, but I definitely think it's so hard to, when you have like a community-wide trying to manage something. So what does bearish or more bearish than coming in 22, going into 2023 look like to you? Like, does that mean price decline? Does it mean just broader kind of community sentiment being mixed? How does it play out in your opinion?
It's so difficult to say because obviously price is heavily correlated to macro and the rest of the market and all that kind of stuff. I think it is, and this is sort of in step with the whole market, where if we look at this time last year going into Q1, we were expecting ApeCoin and we were expecting, I think, other side at that point. And there was a lot of positive sentiment and floor price went crazy in the lead up to it. Now we're going into the trial of Jimmy the Monkey, and I just don't think we're going to see the same thing. And that's obviously due to the whole market being bearish and sentiment and lack of liquidity. But
we already aren't seeing the same thing. When the other side like trailer dropped, I felt like it was like, you know what I mean? Like it just like dominated my feed. It felt like the thing. Now maybe we were still in the bull, so everything was just crazier then. But like the Jimmy the Monkey news seems like I'm like kind of seeing it, but like I'm not seeing like a tremendous amount of just like, like it's not just the only thing.
Oh my God, this is like blowing our minds. It's just like, it's interesting.
It's cool, yeah. And it's not the only thing I'm seeing on my feed. I will say this because you alluded to this earlier. You know, we were on a call yesterday for in peak talking about some predictions, and I had sort of sounded bullish on Yuga, which I am, but I was reacting to a question somebody had put in the thing, which is, has Yuga taken their foot off the gas? And I was like, I don't feel like Yuga's taking their foot off the gas, right? Like, I feel like they just hired a new CEO. I feel like they've got these, I knew we hadn't seen the Jimmy the Monkey video yet, but they had teased that it was coming. So I knew that was coming. So I was like, I think they are very much cooking and driving a lot. And I've totally had to eat my words when I was bearish on them. I think they have an incredibly tough task ahead of them.
Yeah.
Like I can't conceive of right now how you make a super interesting, engaging metaverse in this very traditional conception of it, which is you buy land and people go and hang out in a virtual place. Like I don't know how you make that Ready Player One level engaging or exciting yet.
Yeah.
So I think I think things tend to like the pendulum swings. So they had such a good 2022 in some ways. I mean, I see what you're saying. They had these missteps, but I think, you know, they came out with the other side. Like they dominated this year. Like they were the project. That it does seem like there's a chance you dominate a little bit less the following year, or, you know, like people are a little bit less excited about the metaverse or whatever comes next in those phases. I don't know. It remains to be seen. I think they have proven themselves to be way more able to scale than I would have thought. You know, for two people whose backgrounds are as writers or whatever their backgrounds are, who, you know, have not run a bunch of companies before, I am incredibly impressed with their capacity to scale, to bring on partners, to hire, and we'll see what that reaps in 2023.
COINSHIFT is a leading treasury management and infrastructure platform for DAOs and crypto businesses that need to manage their treasury operations. Every crypto org needs to manage its treasury, and COINSHIFT offers a simple, flexible, and efficient multi-chain treasury management platform built on top of the highly secure Gnosis Safe. With COINSHIFT, your organization can go from primitive single-chain treasury management to expressive, flexible, and multi-chain treasury features, such as global user management, global contacts, proposal management, and many other features that can be shared across an entire organization, allowing users to save time and reduce operational burdens and gas costs. COINSHIFT even has data tools like account reporting across the 7 chains on which it operates. Used by industry powerhouses such as Uniswap Grants, Balancer, Consensus, and Masari, COINSHIFT is speeding up the coordination and efficiency of the organizations that use it. You have to keep up with the frontier, and COINSHIFT makes that easy. So sign up at coinshift.xyz/bankless. We're all bullish on NFTs, but gaining exposure to NFTs as a whole is difficult. How are you supposed to gain broad, generic exposure to an industry that's designed to be unique and non-fungible? CRYPTEX has the answer. CRYPTEX Finance produces synthetic tokens that lets you get exposure to areas of crypto that you otherwise couldn't. Their first product, TCAP, provides broad exposure to the total crypto market cap of all crypto assets. And their second product, JPEGZ, gives you the ability to get exposure to the entire NFT market. It's the first real NFT index token, so you don't have to go hunting for rares or finding under the radar opportunities. You just need to own some JPEGs, because JPEGZ tracks all NFT collections with real-time exposure. This is a first-of-a-kind product from CRYPTEX, who has worked in close collaboration with Chainlink for months to ensure accurate price feeds for true exposure. Live minting and trading of JPEGs will open at the end of Q4, so make sure you stay up to date with CRYPTEX Finance by joining their Discord, Telegram, or following them on Twitter.
While we're on this blue chip, if we even believe there are such a thing as blue chips these days, while we're on this blue chip theme, let's talk about Doodles and Doodles Outlook 2023. I would love to get your thoughts on this. They have come out with some more news, I guess, on the duplicator. I'm like still trying to wrap my head around this. I think at broad strokes, I understand this, right? You basically, you have a doodle, you can now isolate certain traits of your doodle, certain characteristics of your doodle, put them into a duplicator, and other doodles will be spit out of that. Is that right? Do I have that roughly?
That's kind of it. Again, I've not really been following it that closely, but I saw like a quick 30-second video clip, and I think that was kind of the gist I got
that
from
seems to be the vibe based on it. Seems like it'll be available in also in January, I think they said, in 2023. It's also had some comms breakdowns. Some folks were frustrated. They felt like because this missed a bunch of deadlines and maybe the communication wasn't, what it should have been. And then I think Poopy has come back and sort of apologized and said, hey, I'm sorry. Let me explain why we've had these delays, and it's not an excuse, but whatever. So, all the stuff that all these projects are dealing with. And how are you feeling about Doodles for 2023?
I'm pretty bullish. I think I've always been bullish on Doodles since day one. The team is super experienced and super stacked, and yes, maybe the communication could be better, and hopefully they've learned or will do something slightly differently, because clearly I think a good portion of the community wants a bit more communication. But they have raised a bunch of money and they have built a strong brand. They're like one of 5 to 10 projects that are instantly identifiable in the space. They have some of the best partners. I mean, Pharrell, and they're really they've executed well on a lot of fronts. They've innovated. Their in real life activations, I think, are probably the best in the space.
Absolutely.
Like Doodle Part, South by Southwest, everyone. The only thing comparable, I think, was like the Cool Cat activation at NFT NYC that everyone was raving about. But again, they seem to be really great at executing, and the attention to detail they have for in real life events and just everything is like any of the animations are like super, super really well put together. So yeah, I'm just really bullish on them long term. So yeah.
And they have a family safe brand, which people know. I am just very aware of how powerfully kids like rule our culture and parents rule our culture. And so having a family safe brand, I think is a powerful thing. I'm bullish Doodles. I think Yuga felt like it more dominated 2022. Maybe we'll see Doodles rise and dominate 2023. There's a prediction for you. Okay, I want to call out a project that I think is not getting enough attention. I called this out yesterday. You and I have talked about it now, and they will be on the podcast next week. So hopefully more people will kind of see what they're doing. Women and weapons. I posted a video about this. Women in Weapons, project founded by Sarah Bauman, Jake Bauman. Sarah's the artist behind it. Jake is her husband. They are just amazing people. Jake's, also CEO. I don't know what their titles are in the project, but Jake like runs the project as well. So talented. I think they like complement each other's skill sets really well. Like the sweetest people. They also have now released Nova, which on social media I think is Rise of Nova or The Rise of Nova, depending on the social media platform. And I think this is absolutely brilliant. So exciting. We have not seen other projects do this. It is a virtual influencer that is Sarah. Sarah plays the character of Nova, Nova being one of her artworks, one of the PFPs essentially, right? Whatever. It's Sarah in a haptic suit making this character come to life as a virtual social media influencer. And they're going to use her as a way to both be an influencer and do all the influencery trend stuff, but also to tell her story and start teasing out the lore of women in weapons in this social media native way through this particular character. I'm obsessed with this. I think this is so creative, such a no-brainer. And like what I said with Yuga, I think they've got a long road ahead of them to actually make this character a known influencer and a known quantity. But I think it's brilliant. What are your thoughts?
I love it too. Yeah. As soon as you said it yesterday, I went onto Twitter and was like looking at the Rise of Nova account and like looking at the animations, and I was like, this is the future. This is the future. This is it. And
it's so gorgeously rendered. I don't want to give away too much now because I want folks to go listen to the interview I did with Sarah, but I think like don't sleep on them. Like long road ahead to kind of make this influencer an influencer, but the idea is so savvy. It's so different. It's not a comic book, right? Like when I look at all these projects that want a TV deal or a whatever they want because they get their IP out there, it feels like the kind of obvious route or the route that had been gone was like, okay, we'll make a comic book. And this is fresh. And I just love that it's fresh. I say that on the pod. Go listen to that podcast episode. We won't say more now, but love it. I'm glad that you love it too. I think some people have been getting it. Some people haven't. And I'm like trying to get everybody to get it because I think it's amazing. Donald Trump NFTs. Obviously, lots been said about this already. I didn't talk about it last week because I didn't do a recap episode last week. But I do think we have some information that I have not seen anybody talking about that I want to say. So first, the headline stuff. Obviously, Trump launches his NFT collection. 10,000 of them, trading cards, the digital
45,000.
45,000. See, I didn't even know. 45,000. Wow.
Yeah. $99 each was the mint price. On Polygon, you could pay with a credit card. And
his video was hilarious. I realized like enough time has passed where he has not been president and I have not had to hear about him every day that I can like watch a video of him and be like, that's funny. Like, he's like, hopefully your favorite president, better than Lincoln, better than Washington. And you're like, he knows he's being a clown. And
does he?
He does. I think he does.
Yeah.
I couldn't appreciate it because I hated him so much. And I still really in many ways do, obviously. But like, he's just less of a threat now that I don't think he's going to be president again. So I can like kind of just like laugh at him as like a sideshow.
I have a very quick question aside on the video. Did it ever occur to you that it was like not a real video? Like it was an AI generated deepfake? Because I heard people talking about it. I had that same thought where it was like, well, what if this is not an official Trump thing? If someone just created a convincing website, used deepfake and created a video.
So I saw that commentary before I even saw the cards. So like, I think the first thing I even saw about his trading cards was like, we thought it was a deep fake, but it seems to be confirmed real. It's like, I didn't have the time to have the initial thought before I was seeing the conversation around the thought. I totally understand why people would think that. It like definitely, it's so weird. Like the whole thing is so weird. And the images are so weird. Like it's just bizarre. And I know MetaMask was flagging it. If you tried to buy it for a period of time, MetaMask was saying, hey, we don't really know what this is. Like, please proceed with caution. Which credit to MetaMask for doing that. It must have been MetaMask. My other thing about the video though was that it just seems so clear to me that like he had some advisor or aide, like he has some team that has put this together on his behalf. And he like hardly knew about it because he was like, you could win dinner with me. I don't know. No, what did he say? He's like, oh, $99. He's like, which seems like pretty cheap for what we're offering you. Like, but it was in a way that really did seem to me like he was like for the first time kind of talking about this thing, and he'd been told seconds before it was $99 and here's what you're offering on behalf of it. Like the whole thing, just it's funny. It's wild. Obviously I did not buy them because I have no interest in supporting anything that man is doing. And then here was a really interesting take that I did not see enough people talking about. Somebody tweeted this initially, which is that the admin team, the admin account wallet for the Trump team minted 1,000 NFTs for themselves. Okay, fine, whatever, to their wallet. 25% of what they minted out of that 1,000 have ended up being one of ones.
Yeah.
And I think you ended up looking and you said it was more like 20. It was 24%.
23.88.
Okay.
To be
and then 30%. This tweet
30%.
said 33%, but I think you went back and looked and it's like 30% of the autograph of the 1,000 that they minted ended up being autographed ones.
Yeah.
So like to your point, I think you said this, like a statistically impossible, it would almost seem like if it was actually random that you minted 0 through 1,000, the first 1,000 NFTs, and 25% of what you minted would be these autographs and 33% would be, or whatever, I'm getting this wrong. So, I mean, it's just classic Trump.
Is anyone surprised?
No, but nobody's talking about it. And I'm like, how? Like in any other scenario with any other project, this would be such a scandal of like clearly a bad faith thing. But it's Trump and we're all like, haha, he's grifted us again. Oh, haha, he's just like stealing money again. Okay, whatever. We'll include the link to the tweet that first called this out. Again, I think the numbers you calculated were a little bit different, but like, what the hell?
Yeah. And I mean, the floor price of these went up to like 0.8 ETH or something, which is
right before the sweepstakes. People are waiting to see if they win whatever, again, dinner with Trump or...
The other thing is, if you read... So there's some interesting stuff in the fine print. One is that they have a financial value on like everything, where it's like you can win dinner with Trump, which is valued at $200. So you may not actually get dinner. We might just send you $200. So it's like they have an out on all of it.
What?
Yeah. And also...
they're valuing dinner with Trump at $200?
Something like that. It's like dinner with him or golf with him at $200 or $300. It's very, very low.
That's definitely, if that's like a silent auction item, there is a 0.000% chance it goes for $300.
I know. Unless it's like a 1,000-person banquet and Trump's at one table and you can't even...
Maybe if you're paying for tickets. But I mean, these are fun. I mean, that's fundraisers, but like to get a dinner, to be in a room with him while he's running for president is going to cost you thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So that's one crazy thing. And the other interesting thing is that I think because of legal reasons with the sweepstakes, there had to be a way for people to enter for free. And so if you like read the fine print and go through it, it's like if you print out this form and fill it out and sign it and mail it to this post office and then, confirm you will get one free NFT, before it's like, it was just this weird legalese loophole thing that it just seemed like they had to go through that just made it seem a little bit more shady.
Totally. Yeah. The sweepstakes thing makes sense because that's how they're getting... Well, actually, I don't know, though. Why do you have to make it a sweepstakes legally? Whatever. I get it. They're trying to do legal cover their ass stuff. That's one thing. But basically being like, we may or may not actually go through with this and instead we'll send you $200 because that's the value of this. That's the one where I'm like, in what world? No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. Oh, the other thing is there were these like stock background images and they didn't take the watermarks off all of them or something like that. So...
I mean, it's just the most classic Trump execution of all time. Just completely cheap, completely like both ostentatious and like lowbrow. It's just like that magic combination of like like rich with no class.
Yeah.
All right, couple other things, and then let's wrap. And maybe we'll just do some quick items here. Betty planning a Web3 NYC 23 in June. She's been tweeting about this. I couldn't join the meeting. She was doing some meetings around it, I think. But I'm excited. I love the idea of an artist-planned, artist-led conference. And I love the idea of it being in New York, my city, baby. So.
I was going to say I don't like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're biased, I'm biased. But it's just and because last time I was in New York, I had COVID and it was... But yeah, I'm more of the... I like a... You can do a conference or somewhere where there's like a lot of room. If you're trying to get thousands of people together, it just seems like New York is not the right location for that. That's my
no comment.
Yeah,
I won't speak against my own interests. Some fiat on-ramping stuff. Maybe let's close with this. I think there's some interesting. Oh, actually, no. There's one other thing I want to close with. But MoonPay is now an on-ramp to Uniswap, which is exciting. Folks who have tried to trade on Uniswap before know it's like it's like the 3-stage process. You buy on wherever you buy, and then you transfer, and then you transfer, and it's like a whole thing. So that's cool. You can now use credit card, debit card, bank account to purchase crypto directly to Uniswap. Oh, there's no off ramp though. That's a little strange. So that's an on ramp to Uniswap. And then MetaMask mobile users can now use PayPal to fund their wallets MetaMask, which is cool.
Yeah.
All of this is just improving that user experience. I mean, slowly but surely, we're just trying to chip away at that because it really has historically been such a cumbersome user experience.
So
Let's just make it easier. Okay, last piece of news is Wrapture, which is the Dmitri Cherniak project, Artblocks project. I didn't even know this. You obviously did because you do everything Artblocks. 50, maybe tell us about this. Tell us about, do you know the latest with Wrapture?
Yeah, so before Wrapture, he had a project called Eternal Pump, and it was a playground project. There was, I believe, only 50 of them, and it was a 2 ETH mint, and this is like a year and a half ago, which is, it was really early. This is when everything was minting out at like 0.1 and no Dutch auctions. And what he did was he created this, and they have like 100 ETH floor. They hit like 300 or 400 at one point. And then he created his second collection, Wrapture, where he airdropped everyone who had an Eternal Pump one of these Wrapture NFTs, and it's beautiful art, it's generative, it's in his style, and said if the supply will be capped at 50, so there's only going to be 50 of these, unless if anyone lists or sells or trades or transfers any of their 50, then immediately or like very soon after, the supply would go up to 666, and there would be like, the market would be flooded. I can't remember the exact mechanic. It would be a mint or a Dutch auction or some other price. But effectively, if every 50, all of the 50 holders like held the line, then they get to keep this really scarce, beautiful piece of art by one of the best generative artists in the world, of which is only 50. However, if even one person, this really game theory thing, breaks, then all of a sudden, I mean, they can probably get a lot for selling that particular one, but because it'd be the provenance of that would be interesting. But then the supply goes way up, and then so it was this really cool thing.
And nobody sold. It was for a year, right? It was for a year.
Yeah.
And so nobody sold for the whole year, and so it's capped at 50. And then in honor of that, or I don't know what in honor is how you'd phrase it, but Dmitri sold one of his once we hit the year mark for like 169 ETH.
Correct. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, crazy.
Yeah.
So I wonder, my first reaction is actually that the fact that Artblocks was doing so well this year helped. Like, I feel like the initial reaction might be, oh, Artblocks was pumping. Maybe somebody would have wanted to sell theirs. But I feel like the fact that Artblocks was pumping in this bear gave holders probably confidence that Artblocks is like a good place to have your money stored, which almost makes it easier to hold, because you're like, well, imagine if there's only 50, and imagine what I'll get for this, in 5 years or whatever it is. If this is what's happening to Artblocks and the bear. So really interesting. I love the fun playing with game mechanics. And I feel like Artblocks has always been because Eric Snowfro has always been,
he's amazing,
sort of verbal about interesting mechanic-y things like
that. One thing I just saw, the 169 ETH sale from Dmitri, all of the proceeds were donated to charity. So that's really
that's amazing. Love that.
Yeah. And that's very in line with Dmitri and Artblocks in general. Like, I think Artblocks has probably generated somewhere between like $50 to $100 million donated to charity over the last 2 years.
Wow.
Because every single drop, they have a percentage that is a requirement to be donated to charity. And some of their drops that they've generated crazy amounts, and they've had various initiatives. I remember Eric Snowfro once pledged all of his royalties for a month to charity, and they've had other pledge drives, and they're very impact driven and very
philanthropic, and that's fantastic.
It really is.
Well, that is a great note on which to end this final Moment of Zeneca episode of the year, that we will be hearing from Zeneca again next week on our last episode of the year, which will be our predictions episode and our look back episode. Zeneca, thank you so much for another wonderful year together, and I can't wait for 2023.
Me either. Thank you as well.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Overpriced JPEGs. If you liked this conversation, if you liked this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe. It helps me out, it helps the show out, and it means you will get alerts and updates when we post new content. Thanks again.